Welcome to Lord Beer Me Strength.
This is the podcast where we ask God to beer us some strength.
And then we use that strength to pray without ceasing, talk about beer, and digest the issues.
And sometimes we quote The Office.
For your edification and our enjoyment.
Because we have freedom in Christ.
You're Lisa.
And you're Marge.
Now,
Lord beer us strength.
Okay.
Yay. How are you doing, Marge?
I'm good.
Yeah?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited.
You have an injury.
A little bit, yeah. Look, I put a Band-Aid on it because it was dripping blood again.
Oh.
I'm so
Dang.
hardcore. Yeah.
That looks epic, though.
It's pretty cool. I haven't skinned my knee like this since I was
That one looks cool.
32 at least. You know.
Like, that would be cool
Yeah.
if it's scarred.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping I get a little scar right here.
Yeah. Is there like a... Does it go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I hit the ground and then slid.
Nice.
Yeah. It was nice.
You were
Pretty
saving a
epic.
dog.
No, I was saving my phone.
Oh.
Yeah. Nothing heroic.
I was trying to make it cooler, but...
I mean, you can't. Except maybe you should post a picture of this so the people can see my gnarly injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, show that
I
off.
should.
A bad boy.
Oh, hold on.
Here, wait, I'll take the Band-Aid off. I know that everybody wants to see this. Look at that.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah, it's
It
gotten
looked
worse.
Nice.
All right, I'm going to put it back because these are new jeans. There. All right, but yeah, otherwise I'm healing nicely. Thank
Good.
you. Thank you for being worried about me.
Yeah. Thanks for all your thoughts and prayers for Lisa's knee.
Yes, I will also set up the GoFundMe so you
Mhm.
can support my doctor's bills.
Mm-hmm. No
This
problem.
25-cent Band-Aid.
What are you drinking today?
Yeah. So we just raided your kitchen
Uh-huh.
for this selection.
You
and,
have the best thing in my kitchen right now.
Well, that is soon to be debated.
Okay.
This is Mountain Dew Baja Blast. I've never had one of these.
Chef kiss.
Yeah.
You've never had one?
No. I stopped drinking.
You lied to me?
No, I told you I never had it.
Oh, yeah, you said you didn't like it.
Oh, I just know that I don't like it.
Oh.
So I have had a sip of my son's before. I don't think that counts. I've never had one of my own.
You lied to me. Again.
I'm having a hard time keeping up. What's happening?
You said you never had it, and now you have had it.
I've never had my own.
Okay.
Is what I'm referring to. I have tasted it. How
Get
about
your
that?
story straight.
I'm trying so hard. I have my very own can of it today,
Okay.
and it's dripping moisture
Why
down
are
my
you
fingers.
holding it so weird?
I'm looking at it because the can is a work of art.
Yeah.
I mean, the can is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more appetizing than hearing that you're about to drink a blast of natural and artificial tropical lime flavor. I mean, if that doesn't get your mouth watering, I don't
That's
know
what gets me up in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it does have caffeine in it, right?
You can't go to Taco Bell without it, really.
That's what I hear.
You do
I just don't
doing
go
it
to
wrong.
Taco Bell. That's
Or you
part
could
of
do
it.
that, but
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see
Alright,
what I think about
go
this.
for it.
It tastes like Kool-Aid. Is it supposed to taste like Kool-Aid? Like, it tastes like my childhood.
What?
It tastes like cheap Kool-Aid
Huh.
that we would mix up on summer days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine drinking it while you're eating like a taco.
I actually do like lime-flavored stuff. I did
You're
just
really
brush my teeth
Bad
also.
at acting as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get past the nasty toothpaste interaction.
That's
you know?
a you problem, though.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, it's not bad. I don't hate it. How about that?
Okay.
I think I'd probably like it better with ice. But straight from the can, it's not bad. It's okay.
But you didn't
I
like
stopped
this.
drinking Mountain Dew when I got pregnant with Ruthie because that was the same time that my thyroid freaked out.
Mhm.
And any kind of caffeine just made it worse. So I quit until I started drinking coffee. Then I went back to caffeine and lower sugar forms.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what do you have over there? What's the pink thing?
Everyone's gonna think I'm like such a nerd because, well, maybe Quinn. Yeah, Quinn always calls me a nerd.
I mean, you are a nerd.
For this, but like, I don't know. When she says it, it's like, anyway.
My nerd is a term of affection.
It's PewDiePie's G Fuel.
It's PewDiePie's. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that earlier.
Well, yeah, because it's like nerd. See, this is why I didn't want to tell anyone.
I didn't know what we were working with here. I didn't know you were a PewDiePie fan.
Have you not watched PewDiePie?
No.
Yeah.
He is like Baja Blast to me.
Mm.
I have only seen like clips of him in other contexts.
Yeah.
Never sat down and watched a PewDiePie video.
Yeah.
Is he still around? Is he
Mm-hmm.
still doing his thing?
Yep.
Okay. Good for him. Interesting.
But it's a really good drink.
He promotes this as his product?
I mean, yeah, but like...
He concocted it in his kitchen?
Yeah. All by himself.
Nice.
But it's a powder that you put in water and shake it up. And
what's G Fuel?
It's an energy drink.
Okay.
But
is it just sugar?
No, there's no sugar in it. It's like... And it's really nice because it's water-based instead of like... different...
What else are you gonna
drink? Well... like, what is soda?
As opposed to milk-based?
No, shut up.
Soda's water-based.
But it's
carbonated water.
Yeah, but it's carbonated and it's like thick. And like, do you want to drink?
I mean, I kind of do now.
It's like, it's not super cold, but like, it's like more refreshing, I would say, than like, because soda's kind of heavy.
See, I don't know. I think that's kind of thick too.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, like after like a can of soda compared to like this. This feels more refreshing to me.
What in the world are they sweetening it with? Because it's pretty dang sweet.
Yeah. Anyway.
So that's what we're sipping on today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not beer. Because listen,
I'm already tired.
It's an important subject.
Beer. Well. Oh yeah. What's the subject?
It's sex.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe a little disclaimer right up front.
Yeah.
This might not be the episode to listen to with your children. Unless...
Because we know you listen with your kids.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids I know that listen, which is great. Love it. My kids listen. They're my best critics. If you're a homeschooler and you need a little bit of a sex education resource, here you go. Yeah. Do have your kids listen. Because they will learn a lot, and they will know also what not to learn. We're gonna do that. Yeah. Putting that up front, though. Yeah. Just be discerning. With.
I'm 26, and I feel like I'm still like, maybe I shouldn't listen to this.
It's too late. You're on it. Okay. You're in this episode.
I'm nervous.
We are going to hear from you about
how to have sex.
Now, okay, also to be clear, that's not what we're going to cover.
So in this episode, it's not the sex talk.
It's not. We can do that, though, if you want to, like, let us know.
No.
Go ahead and request a sex talk from... Oh, okay.
We're not doing that. We are going to talk about purity culture and sexuality.
Yes.
And how the church is kind of screwed with our brains a little bit in regards to what is and what is not okay to talk about. And our experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interacting amongst the fundamentalist evangelical Christians in our lives.
Yeah. Which used to be us.
Yeah. Those are the things you can look forward to in this episode. So if you don't want your kids to hear about all of that, usher them away right now. Put them in the closet for the next hour or so.
And then they'll come out of the closet.
Oh no! I didn't mean it.
Yeah. You put them in there, they're gonna come out.
It's your fault.
No.
not you. The parents. You put your kid in. I'm sorry. Why do you let me talk? You should not. Oops.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
The title of it.
And the actual title is Sex is Not a Bad Word.
Why is it not a bad word?
Because God created sex.
What is the definition of sex?
More Baja Blast.
I laugh a lot when I'm uncomfortable.
There is actually, I mean, yeah, we're going to be laughing a lot. That's our third disclaimer. Yeah, we're going to talk about why sex is a good thing. Sex is created by God to be a gift. And it is a good thing. And we mess it up. And we overcomplicate some things regarding it.
You and I?
Probably. I mean, I think everybody has their own issues. Because everybody's coming from a different perspective as far as, like, the way they were raised to view sex and
the way
how
sex
to handle
has
it.
Been talked about and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're gonna discuss all of that. There's a lot.
Sorry, my dog keeps hitting the microphone with his ball.
Yeah, Hobbs has been neutered, and so this is all news to him. He has no idea what we're talking about.
Well, also, he doesn't speak English, so...
I think he understands a lot, though.
Okay.
So I brought with myself here a resource. I brought a resource to help us in discussing this very big topic. I brought a book called The Great Sex Rescue. This is by Sheila Ray Gregoire. She's personal hero of mine.
Gregoire.
Even though she's like on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Myers-Briggs personality types.
There you go.
She's still my
hero.
Look
at you go.
I know, right? I know things. I've learned a lot from doing this podcast with you, Marge. So I have this book. I deliberately brought this one and not some other ones that I have been gifted and read earlier in my marriage regarding sex and whatnot. But we'll kind of discuss them a little bit too. So she does start this book, though. The Great Sex Rescue literally opens with a definition of sex. Do you know what Sheila Ray Gregoire defines sex as? We already said it. She defines it as a gift from God. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something else.
On the next page, she talks about what it is.
Oh my gosh.
So I think we all pretty much know.
We are professionals.
The definition. So I'm not going to go ahead there now. Later on, I might say more as far as words go, we're going to use the words, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 40 years old. I can say the words. I'll prove it.
I can do this.
I can do this.
Yeah.
I think we should probably start, though, like with our own kind of perspectives, like where we're coming from.
Sure.
As far as like how we grew up.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you go ahead and start? Because
I wanted you to start.
Oh.
I feel like I've already talked too much.
No, you did a great intro. I think if you start, then I can kind of like fill in gaps for like what's been taught to me recently.
Okay.
Because like your story goes back farther than mine.
It does. I'm very old.
You're just older.
Well, I mean, mine starts, before you were even born. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I will say this. When I was preparing for this episode, one story kept coming back to me. And it's not even necessarily sex related, but it really shaped the way I thought about people and sexuality. So anyway, it happened at camp. It's the same church camp that Ruthie came back from like 2 months ago. It was Assembly of God camp, and I was younger than her. I think I was 14. And every day after lunch, and I think Ruthie talked about how they still do this, they have a gathering in the sanctuary where the kids all meet first, and then the adults, the leaders and the counselors and stuff are off having like some kind of meeting. I don't know what all happens there because I never went as an adult, but all of us kids were in the sanctuary, right? We're waiting for the adults to come back, which seems like a bad idea looking back on it, that they left us pretty much unsupervised. And there was at least one adult there because he was filling the time by being on stage, and he was calling out to people who had birthdays. The kids that were celebrating their birthday on that day while at camp. And so we're going to call him up and we're going to sing happy birthday for them. And he calls up this one girl, reads her name off of the sheet of, names. And she comes up, and this was 13 or 14. So it's probably 94, 95. Clinton was still president. And so she comes up, and I start hearing these calls from the audience saying, she looks like Hillary Clinton, in not a flattering way. Like these kids from the audience were telling this girl on stage that she looked like Hillary Clinton. And then they started saying that, no, she looks like Chelsea Clinton. And then more people started to agree. And I'm noticing this is all boys calling out. And they're saying these things to make fun of her. This was a pretty heavily Republican group of kids. So calling her Chelsea Clinton was not flattering. And it quickly turned from that to, oh, she's a dog. And they started to bark at her. This girl on stage is being made fun of for her appearance by a bunch of church kids. And I remember I was like, watching this horrified because I'm thinking, she's not ugly. Like, she's not classically pretty, but she's not ugly. And I kind of put myself in the same category as her. I'm like, we're the same level of attractiveness. Like, what if that was me? What if I had gotten called up there for having a birthday? What would they have said about me? And I just started to, like, melt down watching this happen. I mean, this girl obviously burst into tears and ran off the stage. And the guy that had been up there started to scold the group of kids, but, like, in my mind, he didn't do a good enough job. Like, I don't know what he could have done, but he wasn't appropriately horrified in my mind. But, like, I've thought about that girl ever since, It's been, 26, however many years. I just remember thinking, these boys instantly evaluated her based on appearance. It really cemented in my brain that that's what's happening everywhere I go. Boys are doing this to all girls. They're looking, they're evaluating, and if they don't like what they see, that they will attack. That they have zero regard for my feelings. They just want something pretty to look at, and that they don't care about my soul, basically, because they're willing to do that to some girl on her birthday, So that's what I learned at church camp that year. And it really shaped the way that I tried to, like, present myself as a youth. Now, I never got into makeup or really doing my hair or anything because at the same time I knew this about boys, and I knew that girls were doing the same thing too. But I was also really kind of stubborn in that I wanted to be honest and authentic about how I looked. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, God gave me this to work with, so I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm not going to lie about it. Which in my mind, makeup and, like, covering all my imperfections and stuff was lying. If somebody was going to like me, I wanted them to like me for who I was. But I tried to work with what I had. For me, that meant staying skinny. And so I would, like, starting at age 13, I would stand in front of my full-length mirror and pull on the places where I saw fat piling up. And I would, like, decide, okay, I needed to work out more right there. I needed to eat less so that my thighs didn't get any bigger. I'd tell myself that if my stomach wasn't completely flat, then I had to miss a meal. And, like, I was never, like, actually anorexic. I kind of dabbled with, like, puking if I ate too much, I could make myself puke. I never got into an actual eating disorder, so I don't want to make light of the people that do really struggle with that. But I definitely put my value and my worth in weighing under 100 pounds. Mm. And I did that until after I had 2 kids. That stayed with me because I figured I might not have a great face, and I'm still waiting for my boobs to come in, but I can stay skinny. Mm-hmm. All of that was because I felt like I had to look a certain way to have any value, and in my mind, I was trying to avoid what happened to that girl on that day. And, like, she was on an actual stage, but to me, just leaving my house was, like, the stage. I felt a lot of pressure to avoid, like, what happened to her. In any sort of form, like, I would just be out and about and I'd be looking around and I'd be like, okay, I'm almost the skinniest one here. I'm okay. Like, that's how my brain would work. I would compare myself to other people and be like, okay, they're all better than me in some other way, but at least I'm skinny.
So you were like, and you're being afraid of, it sounds like you were angry at the boys for doing that.
I was scared to death of the boys.
So you weren't angry at them, you were scared of them, and that fear led you to do the same thing that they were doing, which was objectifying women.
Right, I was objectifying myself because I believe that's what all boys, all people were doing. And so, yeah, I was scared of being objectified and being found to have no value.
So you were objectifying yourself?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And, that's one of those things that I've had to, like, deconstruct over the years. And, I mean, we'll talk about how that affected me also as we get into other stuff. And it might not seem like that has much to do with sex, but it does because, like, this is what I felt like I was bringing to my future marriage, you know? I wanted somebody to want to marry me for who I was, but I also wanted to, like, be able to give something back. I don't know. It just felt like I don't want to show up to a party without bringing a present, you know? In my head, what good am I? Well, I might have to shop for bras in the junior department, but I also shop for all of my clothes there, you know? You're welcome, future husband, you know?
Huh.
I don't know.
There's a lot there.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I was kind of a mess going into it, and this was at the same time that the book I Kissed Dating Goodbye was going around.
Yeah.
The whole purity culture was really taken off.
I mean, yeah, it's been a thing for a while, but, like...
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of...
It really got cemented into evangelical culture around the time I was a teenager with that book. Mm-hmm. That same year that the girl got barked off the stage, a presentation was done using an illustration from that book. It was just definitely a big deal the time I was growing up. This whole idea that dating is like practice for divorce because you're going to expose your heart to this intimate connection with somebody else. And there's a possibility that it's going to end and you're going to get used to that feeling of getting close to somebody and then being done with them. So that's why I Kissed Dating Goodbye promoted more of a courtship kind of situation to where, I mean, you basically decide you're going to get married before you even start pursuing somebody. You know, like, this is somebody that I wouldn't want to spend time with unless I would consider dating them. Or, I'm sorry, consider marrying them. Yeah. So it's almost like as soon as you enter into this process, you're engaged. You know, you take it that seriously. You don't leave a whole lot of room for not getting married. You know, like that's the whole point.
It's very black and white.
Of courting somebody. Yeah. So even though I didn't read it, everyone else in my youth group had, and I was hearing about it, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I resented this whole concept, even though, like, I wasn't looking to date. I didn't date anybody until Tim, and I was 18. I was almost 19 by the time I started going out with Tim, you know? I wasn't interested in just, like, not hooking up, because that implies having sex, but just casually pursuing somebody. I mean, I had the mindset more of, like, a courtship kind of situation.
Why is that?
Because, well, for one thing, I just knew I wanted to marry Tim. So I was kind of just like, I'll just wait until Tim's interested and then, boom, we'll get married. So part of me didn't think that anybody wanted to date me. So I was protecting myself by just saying, like, no, I'm not even going to mess around with that. It was this whole, like, I had internalized so many bad messages about boys and what they wanted and all these things that I was so scared. I remember, like, okay, even as an adult, if somebody that I find attractive starts talking to me, there's this voice in my head that starts screaming, like, you're hot, you should not be talking to me, this is a mistake, you should stop, you should realize who you're talking to. And, like, I'm just, like, waiting for them to, like, realize that I'm not at the same level as them and, like, lose interest. So it feels like this insane pressure. Mm-hmm. This is how I grew up.
Okay.
These are the thoughts running through my head as I am a teenager. I mean, I was also really scared to be in any kind of a relationship with a guy because of the message that was going around that guys are going to push your boundaries. You hear all the time, guys are only interested in one thing, you know? And once I realized what that was, it's like, wow, that's terrifying. So they just need to stay over there, and I'll be over here, and never the twain shall meet, you know? And then, but I knew Tim from when we were kids, and I was like, there is a good guy. There is somebody who will not push my boundaries and who will respect me as a person.
Not push your boundaries, what do you mean?
Like sexually, you know? As far as you hear all the time about this situation where girls, they're going out, and of course they'll always start out, they'll kiss, you know, and then the guy is going to want more, and he's going to start feeling her up, and he's going to want to have sex, and she's going to have to say no because she's not going to be ready. He's going to push, and then if she keeps saying no, he might rape her, you know? Mm-hmm. that is what I saw on TV. That's what I saw in movies. That's what I was told. You know, we had whole Sunday school classes as a youth group about the, like, separated, of course.
Yeah.
Take the girls in here and tell them, oh, watch out, the guy's gonna rape you if you don't have sex with him. Putting all of the pressure on the girl to say no and to keep out of those situations, you know? Like, I don't know what the guys were being told. I just know that the way that it came across was that, hey, girls, you have to be responsible for the guy not going too far. You have to make sure that you don't put yourself in a compromising situation. Mm-hmm. You have to carry mace in your purse in case you need it. These are the things that we were told anytime the guys and girls were separated.
Like, you know? Angela from The Office, she's like, I don't need this. I have a rape flute.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes. Always carry your rape flute, ladies. Well, I know, like, as far as books that were being circulated at that time, a big one for the guys was Every Man's Battle, which, like, really pushes the message that if a dude is struggling with lust or whatever, like, they promote this concept of bouncing your eyes, where if you see an attractive woman, you're supposed to just bounce those eyes right off of her.
Just look at the ceiling.
Look somewhere else. Look anywhere but at that attractive woman. You know, and so, I mean, the way that starts to, well, first of all, it makes it the girl's problem just for being attractive, you know? Like, she doesn't get treated with respect or like a real human being because she has boobs. That's the way that kind of comes across, right? Like, if he can't look her in the eyes because he might lust after her, it's like it's her problem. It's like she needs to cover up more. When really, that's the guy's problem.
Yeah, I think you need to back up in saying that part of that teaching of women, those young girls that were us, like, was that. So I think we're getting into talking about modesty now. With the whole, like, things that have been taught to us. Modesty is not a bad thing. It's, God calls us to be humble. That's the idea. But then, well, because we've been in a very fundamental church for a while. So we've spent time, we kind of are familiar with the ins and outs, I guess. But, like, some things have been blatantly said and other things have been blatantly implied, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
So, things that have been told, to me anyway, are things like, cover up your body, and, which I've never had a problem with, really. But, like, it's like, yeah, duh, I would cover up my body, I don't want to walk around naked, you know? And, like, common sense kind of stuff, and, like, but then, stuff, like, that was implied, like, flirting is bad, and don't pursue men. Men will pursue you if they want to know you. So in the church, in my church group as a youth, we were very separated by sexes, and it is like it gets to the point where it becomes very awkward for a adolescent to be told that, you know, men are going to objectify you, and the men are told, don't go for a girl unless you absolutely know you want this one, you know? So, like...
Also, don't look at her.
Also, don't look at her.
Because you might be tempted to lust.
And you can't... If you find her attractive, pray about it, and God will tell you if you should marry her or not, and then you can go ask her dad if you can date her. Which is courting, which is, anyway, like, there's a time and a place for all of that, and everyone has their own struggle, and I'm not saying this is right, this is wrong, but, like, I just want to say that's not the only way that you can go about having a relationship with the opposite sex. Like,
yeah, like, courting is not in the Bible. It's not prescribed by the Bible.
Right.
We came up with that.
Also, having a relationship with the opposite sex is a great thing for friendship, you know? Like, and people have said that before, too, about, like, guys can't be friends with girls because they don't think like that. Like, maybe you don't think like that, but you can't speak for everyone. I'm not going to speak for all women here either.
Right.
So, like, anyway, so with some of my story anyway, going to, like, marriage conferences and youth camps and youth and just that kind of stuff. In marriage conferences specifically, they would encourage everyone to go to a marriage conference, even if you're not married.
Right.
Even if you're...
Because you might someday be.
You'll probably someday be,
prepared.
is what they would always say.
Yeah.
It's like the percentages of you being married are really, really high. Like, okay, well... But yeah, I was taught that if your husband is wanting to have sex and you're really tired, like, you better have sex with him because, like, he's gonna find someone else to have sex with or be watching porn and it's your fault.
It's on you.
Yeah, and it wasn't blatantly said it's your fault.
But that's the way it gets portrayed.
But it was said that you need to die to yourself in this way, always.
Right.
And that's like just with the Ephesians 5 stuff, like wives submit to your husbands and everything or whatever. And like that's one sentence in the whole chapter that you're taking out of context, and like it's not that black and white.
Nope.
Life is not black and white. Jesus was not black and white. He was black and white with the truth. And the truth has never changed.
And black and white in the fact that all people are people and not just bodies.
Absolutely.
You know. There's a name for that, what you were talking about. That idea that women can never say no when their husband wants sex. It's the obligation sex message. And this book that I brought, it talks quite a bit about how damaging that is to women and to marriages. Yeah, I have a question for you, Marge.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I think I have an answer.
Okay, because this one's a thinker, alright?
Okay.
If you could have any animal in the world as a pet, what would it be?
An owl.
Why?
Because they're awesome.
Yeah, but you'd have to feed it.
I'd be okay feeding an owl.
Okay. You know what they eat?
They eat mice, don't they?
Yeah. You're gonna feed it little frozen mice? Drop frozen mice down its gullet?
I would be able to do that if I had an owl, yeah.
Okay.
Like, it would be worth it.
Get it to exercise, take it out to the fields and send it off.
Yeah. I always
do falconry with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That would be sweet.
Every time, like, I have a fantasy character that has a pet, it's always, like, an owl or a bird of some sort. So I think that would be so cool to have something on your shoulder.
Yes.
And just walking around and stuff. And you can send them off to do tasks for you.
Right.
You know? And then they just come back and they're just chilling.
Yeah.
They're very low maintenance.
Yeah.
They kind of take care of themselves. It's like...
Ideal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was not a thinker.
No. I was kind of being facetious. I knew what you were going to say.
You did?
Yeah. I was setting you up to talk about owls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks. Did you know a group of owls is called a parliament?
Parliament! I did know that! Yes!
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
They're so sophisticated.
They have the best group name.
And British.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. What kind of owl? Because there's lots.
My go-to when I was younger was a great horned owl. But, I don't know, I kind of like the smaller ones now.
Yeah.
But I could do, like, a pygmy. Pygmies are really tiny, though. Or a tawny owl. Those are so cute.
We saw a screech owl one time.
Screech owls are cool.
As we were heading out.
They're, like, so red, aren't they?
Well, there's two phases. There's the red phase, and I think it's just called the brown phase.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
There's a red one at the
bird sanctuary.
We're gonna go.
We should go there!
But I'm waiting for fall because I don't want to, like, sweat the whole time. What about you? What would be your pet?
Oh, man. You know what? I always had a dream as a child of having a zebra that I could ride like a horse, you know?
Really?
And, yeah, like, I was kind of making plans. And then I found out that there was a guy in the early 1900s, or late 1800s.
You're making zebra plans?
Yeah. Because I was like, okay, everybody's got horses. It's been done. How can I do that, because I love horses, but put my own spin on it, do what nobody else is doing? Looking around, nobody's got pet zebras. Well, I found out there's a reason. Some dude had tried to domesticate zebras and actually trained a team of them to pull a coach, like 1800s, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it did not go well. It was awful, and they are awful. Oh. And So there's like some research into this, and some animals have a particular, like a gene that makes them susceptible to domestication.
Okay.
And zebras do not have it.
Do cats have it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Cats are like one of the earliest domesticated animals, you know? So they have it, but they also have the
just
gene
not happy about
that
it.
makes them snobs about it. Exactly. So they're here, they'll take our food, but...
They come, they eat, they leave.
Yeah,
that's
they're going to stay
life.
superior about it the whole time. And that's fine. You know, we love them for what they are. But yeah, zebras can, like, kill you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like they trample you?
Yeah. They are just, like, very easily spooked. They're not, like, trainable. And, like, I don't even realize how trainable horses are a lot of the time. Because we just kind of take it for granted. But zebras do not have, like, that cognitive way of thinking.
If you throw the ball, they're not going to fetch it.
They will not bring it back. No, they will just take off and run the other direction, and you'll never see them again. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Well, you could just get a horse and paint it.
I could. That would be cool. But instead of that, I think what I'd really like is a turtle. I would love to have a pet turtle.
Why do you say it like that?
Because it's funny. I like to pronounce the T's. And turtle.
A turtle.
Yes. And specifically a turtle, which is one that lives in the water.
Right.
I would like to have a water turtle.
Don't throw a tortoise in the water.
I mean, they can swim, but eventually they're going to tire and sink. And that would be sad.
It's just a swimming rock.
Yeah. So what I would like, well, I don't know. I would like a tortoise pet as well.
A tortoise?
Yeah. Who I could take outside and roam in the garden with. For
hundreds of years.
But, see, it's kind of cruel to have them as pets, turtles and tortoises. Because most of them need to...
You just sound British all of a sudden.
It's just that one word.
Well, when you put them together in the same sentence, it's like, oh, really? Yeah, so turtles. Tortoises.
A turtle friend. So
it's cruel to domesticate.
Well, because most of them, like the ones that you can just go and pick up off the road here in Missouri, they need to do their turtle version of hibernate to really stay healthy.
I've seen Over the Hedge.
Yeah, so you get it.
I get it.
That's science.
No.
Yeah. You can get an African species, and then they don't need to do that, but then they're very far away from where they should be, and then that's cruel, so...
They swam from Africa.
I'm kind of doomed to just never have a turtle pet. Because I just can't live with myself.
I had a turtle.
This was like a mini Science Time with Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a turtle?
Yeah, you knew that, didn't you?
I don't think I did.
I think I've told you like at least twice.
Nope. I remember this. You've never told me.
We might have it on recording that I told you.
Who was your turtle? Let's not look for that. Let's just... Tell me about your turtle now, Marge.
His name was Dan.
Yeah, see, I have not heard of Dan. I would remember that. That's precious.
My cousins got him for me in Florida.
Oh my gosh.
I told you this.
Was he a Riddard Slider?
No.
Oh, what was he?
I don't know. It was the other one that I can't ever...
Oh, I remember you asking about, like, what other kinds.
Yeah.
Did he have, like, colors on the bottom of his shell?
There's a yellow, green, and he just didn't have... He looked like a Riddard Slider.
Yeah.
His face was a bit different.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't have red or anything.
Coming from Florida, he can be a couple different things.
So,
I mean, the next most logical one around here is probably the painted turtle. Yeah. But they're usually pretty brightly colored on their plastern, their bottom shells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was fun.
And then
he got too big.
He got too big.
Yeah. I named him Dan because my grandpa just died. His name was Dan.
Oh.
And no, like my anyway, it was like a fun thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a sad thing. For me, anyway, I thought it was fun.
In memoriam, I named my turtle Dan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dan was great.
I respect that.
I like looking at him, looking at stuff.
Mm-hmm. There's just something about turtle faces.
Yeah.
I just think they are the cutest.
Yeah, they are. Some of them, not all of them.
Some, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care much for snapping turtles.
Or like the humongous tortoises that have been around for like...
Mm.
How do they live that long, by the way? How is that a thing?
Very slow metabolism.
Really?
I guess.
Well, you should know.
Yeah.
Science.
I mean, well, I think that's
time.
one of the things that science is still trying to figure out. Like, Greenland sharks, they're finding them that have, like, bullets in them from wars that were fought, like, 500 years ago. Stuff like that. Like,
Dude.
Yeah. And they live up where it's really cold, around the Arctic Circle. So the
Yeah.
cold kind of keeps them
They're like
from
in
aging.
a freezer.
Yeah. They just
barely
move for 500 years.
Maybe that's what we should do if we want to live longer. Just
well,
stop
cryogenics.
moving.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Cryogenic science. Yeah. You freeze yourself after you die.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Or before you die, I guess, if that's how you want to go.
And we're all gonna burn, so it's like...
Right?
That's super
Be
helpful.
ironic. Yeah.
My question for you is, where in the world would you most want to travel?
Oh, man. See, I think about this. I just have a lot of answers. I can't land on just one.
Have you ever done, like... You can't land on one?
I mean, the one that I guess pops up the most is Ireland. And I don't know why. You know?
That's cool.
Like, I have reasons for wanting to go to, like, England or Australia.
I don't know why.
Or I don't have, like, any compelling reason to want to go to Ireland. Except for it speaks to me.
That's a compelling reason.
I guess.
It's a huge
That's
compelling
what I got.
reason. Because of, like, the landscape?
The landscape. I like the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's beautiful. I feel like I would feel at home there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of redheads.
Uh-huh.
One of my
I feel
people
like
are.
you'd fit just right in.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Scotland for the same reason.
Really? Yeah.
Because, like,
Okay.
I just think that culture is, like, more me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's
Round
relocate.
trip. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you said Ireland and then England maybe next, or...
Yeah. England
was...
because of all the, like, history and, I mean, again, cannot beat, like, the English countryside. Like, give me a cottage on the English countryside and just leave me alone. You know? Be happy for forever. That, and then, like, Australia was the other one because as a child, for a while, I really wanted to be a marine biologist and I wanted to go work on the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
You know? That is the holy grail to anybody interested in marine biology or whatever. So, that, and then just all of the really unique other animals in Australia. I just, as a kid who's obsessed with animals, that seems like the place to go.
Yeah, it's definitely the place to
like
go.
the opposite of here.
Yeah.
You know? Also kind of scary though. Like now I know more about like how many things can kill you in Australia. Rethinking it a little bit. Fewer things are poisonous in England, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venomous, I'm sorry.
Do you think you're going to go in your lifetime?
No.
Why?
I don't. I just don't see it happening. I'm not much of a traveler. It is really hard for me to leave now that I have like my little setup.
Yeah.
Where I live, it is really hard for me to extract myself out of there. There is so much that I do, like, of a daily basis that nobody else does. I have to squirt the medicine down the cat's throat. I have to sort the mealworms in the mealworm farm. Take out the pupae, move them to their drawer, move the beetles out of the pupae drawer, and make sure the mealworms are all fed so they keep reproducing. I gotta take care of the chickens, put the turkeys to bed. Stupid turkeys roost themselves in miscellaneous places. And I have to find them. I have to knock them down and make sure they get to where they're supposed to go. And then I have to count them and then close them up. Tuck them in their little beds. I'm the only one that does a lot of this stuff. Like, Ruthie knows about it. Tim probably doesn't even know half the stuff I do before I go to bed every night. I'm just whipping around the house and going outside and whatnot. And he's like, is there anything I can do to help? And I'm like, not really. It's just all stuff that I've always done. So that's why it's hard to leave.
Because you don't want to teach someone else. I
mean, I have done it. I've left my nephew with a list.
Yeah.
And he can do it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot, For somebody that doesn't, like, have an emotional investment in, like, this cat's health, like, why would you bother squirting medicine? Tracking him down, holding him still, prying his little cat mouth open, squirting it in there, and then rinsing out the syringe so you can do it again in the morning, If he's not your cat, why would you care that much?
Because I care about you.
Well, yeah. Also, I pay him cash.
And cash.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just hard to leave. Maybe in, later years, things will be simplified.
something.
Yes.
That's a lame excuse.
I know. I am aware of that. But it's all I've got. No, it can happen. I just have to be able to prepare adequately. Mm-hmm. So when you turn 40, we will go to Ireland and Scotland. Mm-hmm. And I will start preparing now.
You'll go one day.
I will. Yeah. So will you. We're going to go together.
Okay. I was talking about modesty with my mom the other day. And,
yeah.
We were like getting into talking about all this kind of thing and how like teaching modesty to men is not a thing.
Right.
That's just not a thing. That's not something the church does.
So that's one of my issues, okay?
Yeah.
Because despite all of the bad messages and all of the internalized crap that I've accumulated over the years, I have a very strong sex drive. Anybody who knows me well knows I'm kind of a horn dog, you know? I do not apologize. One of my issues has been seeing this whole message portrayed to women that we have to cover up. We have to make sure that we don't, like, attract a male gaze or whatever unduly. And yet, every spring, summer, whatever, guys start coming to church wearing polos and their forearms are hanging out. And some of these guys have some really nice forearms, all right? I like arms. I like polo season, okay? Mm-hmm. Because there's some guys that I know that have like the good, like the muscles underneath, you know, and then I like the tops of the arms too. Nobody's telling a guy, hey, wear long sleeves to church because you might cause Lisa to be tempted. Mm-hmm. That's never something I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, because men are visual creatures.
Yeah, well, I'm an artist. I notice things. I notice beauty.
I think that's a ridiculous thing to say as well, that men are visual creatures. Like, do women not have eyes then?
The concept of women needing to cover up, right? Mm-hmm. And how it's women's responsibility to protect men from sinning in such a way. And that's a way that we can serve our brothers, right?
Right.
Is by making sure that we have no skin showing.
Or shins.
No shins.
Don't look at my
God
shin.
forbid. So the way that was internalized for me was that my body is gross. And that, like, the changes that were happening to it, like during puberty and stuff, were gross. And that I should be ashamed. So that's why it's irresponsible to continue to promote these cookie cutter ideas. You know, when God calls us to love, it is not loving to keep shoving some harmful message in somebody's face when they need to hear the opposite. This guy is visually stimulated. That means all men, or like if you happen to be an author and write a book and you know about, you know, yourself or whatever, and maybe the guys that you talk to even.
Because they're taking, people who say that are taking the majority of men, because the majority of men are visually stimulated.
In some way, you know.
The majority of women are too, you know? So,
well, that's one of the big issues that I have had growing up, is that the way sex is presented within Christian context is that it is for men. That sex is for men. You know, these books that I read, that Tim and I read together about sex as a newly married couple, present it like the guy has the needs. The guy wants the sex. The guy likes sex. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's the woman's job to keep him happy. You know? They're, like, literally.
I have not read any of these books.
Good. I'm not going to let you. You can have this one.
Okay.
You can have The Great Sex Rescue by Sheila Ray Gregoire. And that's the only one you need.
Okay.
No, there's actually a couple of others that are very helpful.
Me just being me, though, like, I just want to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
You know?
I do. I totally get that.
Like, I don't... If I ever have a kid, which I won't, but, like, if I ever have a kid, like, I'm not going to read any book.
I don't read parenting books.
I'm not going to read... You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, okay, so I didn't set out to read these sex books. They were given to me, and
you
then...
on the top of your reading list?
No, I was kind of like you, and, like, when we got married, I hadn't read any of them. If things had gone great, we never would have read the books.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we needed help
yeah.
that we went to get help, and what happened was the books made it worse. These books told us things that we were not finding to be true about ourselves, and that we couldn't believe to be true about, like, everybody else, you know, like...
What do you mean?
About, like, how sex was just supposed to be something that women did out of obligation, you know, to keep men from struggling or going to porn or whatever. And so, like, I mean, I totally bought it. I didn't know any better, you know, and it kind of went along with everything else that I'd been told. So I tried so hard to do this, you know, like the way that they're saying, hey, you know what? A guy he needs the release. He needs you to be available because he has stress in his life. And so he needs to be able to come to you for that. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, but yeah, the books were reinforcing these really negative ideas that we had about sex, and it did not help at all. It made things worse. And it really drove a wedge into our marriage, because now we're trying to fit into these boxes that our personalities have no business trying to be in. And really, there were so many other underlying issues going on in both of us that needed to be addressed, that were just being exacerbated by trying to fit into these boxes. I mean, well, both of our spiritual lives suffered because of this, you know, because it just couldn't understand this good thing from God was just causing, like, more issues. You know, it's supposed to be this good thing, and we were struggling, and we didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. I feel like, isn't sex kind of like byproduct, or kind of like a symptom of...
Indicator?
Yeah, of having, like, a healthy relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes. It will naturally happen.
Yeah.
If you're, like, in a healthy relationship.
If you both feel safe and loved.
Yeah, and like, so treating sex like, oh, we need to... And, like, I've never been married, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just seems like, it's kind of like, if you have a problem with loading the dishwasher, you can have, you can keep arguing about the dishwasher and going back and forth, but there's something going on underneath that's causing that to be such a problem.
Right.
Because it's not a huge problem. It's like, it would be minuscule if you could find out what the root is underneath, and what the root is underneath is a bunch of fear.
Oh, yeah. And that's why, like, sometime we'll have another whole episode on, like, relationships and stuff, and then I'll bring in the other book that's really helped us called How We Love. And... Yeah,
we should create, like, a library page on our website.
Recommended reading. Book club with Marge and Lisa.
Yeah, because I've quoted some books. Yeah. We've quoted some books recently in the past that I wanted to put out there. Right.
Some of them really need to be promoted, and then we'll have, like, another page of books not to read. Yeah. Because I got a bunch of those, too.
Or read them so you can see why not to, like, promote them.
Yeah, to compare.
Because we're not trying to censor anybody. Everyone can come to a conclusion in their own right mind, because God has given us all the ability to cognitively function in some way. Right. So you're smart. Use your noodle for good.
Yeah, I mean, one of the quotes that I underlined from the Great Sex Rescue here, they have a word to women, and it says, your experience matters. God gave you discernment. You're allowed to use it. When you read something or hear something, you don't need to believe it just because it came from a Christian leader. Look for Jesus in what they're saying, and if he's not there, discard it. So anytime you're reading anything, use that filter, you know, but especially these marriage books.
Can you expound on that? Because apparently we need to.
I mean, being Christ-like and being biblical can be two different things.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so there's a lot of concepts in the Bible that are, they're descriptive. They're not prescriptive.
Can you give
for life?
Oh.
You know,
say that again.
Descriptive kind of just describes the conditions in which something happened in the Bible. You know, like like an example being how the Israelites were, like, we look at it now. I mean, they were stupid. You know, they went off and they did a lot of stuff.
Objectively
stupid stuff that God, you know, had specifically asked them not to do. Cheated on me when I specifically asked you not to? That's God talking to the Israelites, you know?
We need the meme. Gia, make us a meme.
Yeah, get on that. But yeah, that's not the Bible saying, hey, go out and do all these dumb things that you see the Israelites doing. That's describing these things, saying, hey, look, God has something better. Mm-hmm. God calls you to relationship with him. And then see all this dumb stuff that the Israelites did? Jesus came to fix all that. Jesus came so that didn't separate us from him anymore. And so Jesus lived this life and gave us this example so that we can look at how he interacts with the world and with other people, and then we can learn from that. And we can take what we see in his life and we can compare it to the rest of his word, which is the Bible, and we can say, okay, these are the elements that God wants me to emulate because I see them in his life. And these are the elements that they exist because people suck, and God's working with broken vessels, So just because it's in the Bible doesn't mean that it's prescriptive for our life. And that's what she was talking about, how we have discernment, We see a lot of mistreatment of women in the Bible. We see a lot of objectification. But we also see women being... So now I'm getting into the feminism issue again.
It's all tied in. It's all...
Yeah. We see women being strong and taking leadership. And we see them, laying down their lives. And absolutely serving others, serving Christ. And these are the things that he wants us to emulate because he did them too. We see women, even in the Old Testament, being examples of Christ. And of course men too. I'm just saying, we can take these things that align with the life of Christ and we can make them a part of our lives. And then we can see these other things and we can say, no, God has better for us. So, and that's what I'm talking about, with sex too. We see a lot of these things being promoted that are not Christ-like. Treating women as objects within their marriage for male sexual gratification. That completely disregards her soul and her humanity. And it disregards maybe some of the issues that she might have, like physical, emotional, spiritual, that might keep her from being able to have this kind of connection at this time that maybe need to be addressed. One of the other things Sheila says here is that sex has been taught primarily through a male lens, mostly by male authors and by male speakers at marriage conferences. Women's experiences have been largely overlooked or ignored, while women are seen as tools to help men get what they want. That's not Christian, and it's not of Jesus. And she goes on to say that, men are people too, and they have a lot of struggles that are not being addressed. They don't want their wives, the good guys, good married men don't want their wives worried and burdened by these issues, and that they want to live like Jesus. Men have feelings and men need emotional connection. And a lot of time that gets left out of the conversation.
Yeah, because men aren't supposed to have emotions.
Right. Well, they can have sexual emotions and they can have rage.
Yeah.
A lot of, and I'm speaking from talking with other guys.
Yeah, and they don't like that either.
No, that's the internalized message that they have received, and that is,
which is extremely harmful.
Extremely harmful and damaging to them and their marriages. Mm-hmm. And God has so much better for us.
I feel so sorry for my male friends who have trouble crying or any showing emotion or things that need to come out, that are they're so shamed when they do that.
Right.
And they're effeminate somehow.
Let's look at Jesus again. There's a very famous Bible verse. Jesus wept. We completely skip over how powerful that is. That Jesus, the example of all that we're supposed to be, wept fairly easily, had very strong emotions publicly, but was still God. Emotions are godly. And God gave them to us so that relationship can be possible. You can't have a relationship with anybody else, including him, without emotions. And Correct. So when anybody is squelching them, it's shutting down what God wants to do in your life. So you need to understand what's going on and maybe use it as a gauge, to say, hey, something is happening in me or to me that needs to be addressed, but not to be ashamed of it. One of the things that always really caused me a lot of confusion, and we've talked about how confusion makes me angry. And in exploring like what my emotions are and what they mean, this is one that has come up a lot. Is how confusion makes me angry. Because you're told over and over again that dating will like degrade your purity, right? Because you're going to put yourself in these situations that are going to be tempting, and you might mess up, right? You might lose your purity and no longer be pure. But at the same time, you go to a different class and the subject is something different. You're told that you are a filthy sinner, right? In need of God's redeeming sacrifice on the cross. You're the one that put Jesus on the cross. So literally growing up, get these two conflicting messages. Am I pure or am I gross? Which one? So that's why, like, part of my brain just really shut down to this whole purity idea anyway, because I could not reconcile that they could both be true. And so I landed more on the side of, I'm a sinner, right? Because I could relate to that a little bit more, I guess. But still, I go and I keep hearing these messages, and, I see everybody around me not questioning it. And so then, when you go into marriage like that, it doesn't exactly set you up for success.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. And, the same thing was being taught to Tim. And so you get two little idiots together that believe all kinds of, like, really conflicting things and tell them, all right, go procreate. Without any instruction or really preparation other than a couple of sex scenes in some R-rated movies that I allowed to, like, degrade my purity. Like, I was so self-righteous, thinking, I will not watch an R-rated movie that has any, like, language or sex or... I was fine with violence. Violence, gore, that didn't bother me.
That's more holy than
exactly
sex,
right?
Yeah.
Any of those other, like, any sex or whatever, had to shut that down to run away. So I see I have very limited experience as far as this goes, because I wanted to stay pure even though I didn't really believe in it. I could at least go into marriage thinking, well, at least I haven't seen a penis yet, so I got that. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm good. I'm pure before God because I've accepted his sacrifice for salvation, and I haven't seen a penis. So this is as good as I'm going to get.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's all very, it's called purity culture. Because it's not anything but that. It's just kind of like a bunch of it's a bunch of rules that were put in place for a reason. What our rules are.
But then, like, when you're a little nerd that bases your whole acceptance in life around following these rules, and then you get married and you're just supposed to instantly discard all this, now all of these rules don't apply. Seriously messes with your head.
Yeah.
So, years of trying to deconstruct this.
How many years would you say you've been awake?
Gosh, we've been married for 20 years. It was a struggle for a good 10, at least. And some of that still lingers, Some of that 20 years in. We are still trying to deconstruct.
So, like, 10 years ago, you, like, snapped out of it?
No, I did not snap out of anything. It was like the beginning of the process of... I still haven't completely snapped out of a lot of it, I can say vagina and penis now, so that's progress. But no, I literally, when you just... Your whole life is based on being good, and being okay and staying on this side of the line.
Yeah.
To have the line suddenly removed does not set you up for any sort of healthy dynamic in adult life.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I don't know what to say to that.
I don't either.
So...
You talk now, Marge.
Yeah, you're like... I'm done. So the title of the episode is Sex is Not a Bad Word. And
right.
And like we talked about connotations with sex in the church and stuff.
Yeah.
And purity culture and that kind of thing. I wanted to touch on sexuality and my experience with church. Sex is only preached from the pulpit in regards to sexual immorality.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember a time where it was preached in a way that was like sex is a good thing between you and your wife or you and your husband, mm-hmm. Like it's been taught don't be sexually immoral, mm-hmm. But like also
and be available if you're a woman.
Yeah, I mean I'm trying to keep it open to like both genders here, mm-hmm. Because we're talking about sex, we're not talking about feminism.
I have to remind myself.
I know because we keep talking about that. Like, which is fine. That's a huge part of it.
Adjacent.
Yeah, but like so, it's taught don't be sexually immoral.
Well, no, I mean I think you just kind of made a slip that reveals some truth. It is presented like don't be sexual. Mm. That is absolutely how it comes across.
Yeah.
If you're not married, don't be sexual. That's the message. Mm. Mm-hmm. Shove all that down until the day you're married and then let it loose. And tell me how you're supposed to do that. Anyway, keep going.
I was gonna say, like, it's taught, like, don't be sexually immoral, but don't talk about it. Don't talk about sex. It's like, well, mm-hmm. I think maybe one of those things could be causing some of those sexual immoralities if we're not talking about
absolutely
sex in a healthy way, because just like communication, like you want to talk about how to communicate with people according to how Christ communicated with people and how he dealt with sinners, because everyone he interacted with was a sinner, and
exactly.
So I think of him talking with the prostitute, like, and then I think of people like Christians going to protests and kind of shouting from the streets, like anti-abortion or anti-LGBT or or they're like pro-gun or whatever, they go out and think that they're serving the Lord in these ways. And like Jesus, the only people he reprimanded, I shouldn't say that. He cast the Pharisees out. He cast out the sellers of the temple. Mm-hmm. And then the lost he approached with kindness and compassion. Mm-hmm. And he went and talked with the prostitute. He talked with people who are hurting and people who need help. And he said, let the children come to me. That was so against what the culture was saying. He wanted to talk with women, and he washed his disciples' feet. That was like, why would, in his culture, like, that was a huge disgrace. Mm-hmm. So in terms of like modern day culture, like, there are things that we are going to be doing as followers of Jesus that are against the culture. And I think that if we're going to really follow Jesus instead of playing religion, and that I agree with everything you were saying about the whole you do this. I kept hearing while you were talking, like, I was just reminded of, like, this is the law. These are the rules, and you must follow the rules. And I would define religion as Jesus plus rules. And so it's like, it's not even Jesus anymore. It's just rules, really, according to your understanding of the Bible. And that's how religion gets played out, because religion, and then you get different sects of religion, sex with a T and a C in there. But you get different sects of religion with different, like, slightly different rules according to what people are comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, I think that if you're going to preach one way of sex or one way of anything is really harmful, because Jesus, he wasn't like that. Like, he did, yes, very much speak the truth. He did quote the Old Testament. He does have total authority, and truth is never changing. Truth is the constant here. But anyway, Jesus, he didn't heal anyone the same way, in exactly the same way. He touched people differently. And I have to believe it's because it wasn't on anything according to how he was feeling in the moment or something. It's like, but I have to believe it was not on his account that he interacted with people differently, but it was on the account of the person that he would act differently.
And what they needed from him.
How they felt loved and how they felt seen, or if they were a visual person or if they were a physical person, or like somewhere in between. He knew exactly how to meet with them, how to touch their lives in some way, because that's what Jesus has done with me. And like, he's revealed himself to me in a different way than he's revealed himself to you, but he's the same Jesus. And to me, that's beautiful. And I think with sex, and not talking about sex in a healthy way is really damaging to sex in general and people, because people are the people who are having sex. So it's like kind of common sense. It's obvious, like, sexuality is like a huge topic right now. It's a huge topic right now everywhere but church. So it's like, and
good point.
I think sexuality is preached from the pulpit as it's between a man and a woman. And that's very countercultural right now.
Yes.
And coming from someone who has experienced a lot of confusion with regards to sexuality, no one was there for me, and I felt very alone because I was alone, and it wasn't anything that was talked about. It was a thing that was shamed, having same-sex attraction, and it was just kind of like a, don't do that. Stop feeling that way.
Stop it. Stop being that way.
Yeah, pray it away or whatever. And I couldn't, and I can't. And God hasn't called me to that life. He said emotions are godly. And I'm like, because it doesn't feel like it all the time, Sometimes it feels like confusing, and like, why am I feeling this way, and that kind of thing. But I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, because no one was talking about even normal sex, like, quote unquote normal sex, whatever that means. But I didn't have anyone to talk to either. And I know you said, like, you went and tried to talk to people and they were like really awkward about it and would just leave or whatever. It's like, so I don't have like a 10-step program of like, here's what we should do to make this easier to talk about, because I'm still very uncomfortable talking about it, but I'm much more comfortable talking about it now because I had those really awkward conversations years ago with people who were close to me, and I can talk about it now. Like, I am open with people I'm close to, and even with the podcast, like, I'm much more comfortable talking about it now because it's not some sort of shameful thing to hide that you're attracted to someone who's not conventional. But I want to say as well, like, I'm leaving my sexuality up to God, basically. I don't know if that's the right way of saying that. Like, I'm not like practicing homosexuality just because I have a feeling, I don't know. I just want like other people to be aware that like this lifestyle does exist where you can have these emotions, really strong emotions. Like, I don't know how to say this for other people. A lot of the LGBTQ community has come from church, and they've been shamed by people who are very judgmental, and a lot of those people are in church and or have that mindset of this is the conventional way of doing it. This is the these things are black and white. It is supposed to be a man and a woman. You are a man or a woman, and I think there are a lot of people who are really hurting. I know there are a lot of people who are really hurting. I'm one of them, you know. I was one of them, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, and when I did talk about it, it was like, people would judge me, you know. So I didn't want to be that girl on the stage who was like yelled off, you know. Like, and I
Nobody
felt like
does.
I was being looked at differently. I was being treated differently, and it's because we're creating a God in our own image and making him very, very small compared to his actual glory, which is way bigger than we could ask or think to even understand. Because when you try to make sense of God, you've created a God. And God does not make sense to us. We are finite beings with a very finite amount of knowledge and wisdom.
Like an earthworm trying to comprehend human lives.
Yeah.
You know? We're never going to get it.
Like, how could we understand, with the whole creating a God in your own image, or making things very simple, like, we're speaking from, like, personal experience here of trying to fit into that and not succeeding at all. And
realizing God doesn't call us to fit in a box.
Yeah, and realizing that God doesn't fit in a box.
Yeah.
And, like,
that's part of being made in his image.
People are really messy, and he likes that.
Yeah.
We're really messy.
God can handle it.
He's not embarrassed by us.
Nope. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. I just keep thinking about, like hearing you talk. I just keep thinking, if you're attracted to women, it's like appreciating something that God made. Like, God thinks women are beautiful too. You know?
It is. It's like a...
like, God agrees with you.
Yeah.
Women are great. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I think, for me anyway, with the whole same-sex attraction, everyone's story is different, but a lot of women anyway, I know, or men too, a lot of people who are gender confused have dealt with a lot of hurt in their past from a young age, whether it was like molesting or some sort of
trauma.
Yeah, some sort of trauma regarding gender. There are a lot of stories out there like that, and a lot of stories of don't talk about it and that kind of thing. But anyway, with my story of same-sex attraction, it's like, it's not that I'm not attracted to men. Yeah, my story comes from a lot of hurt regarding men, and then people telling me that I wasn't a girl, and a lot of hurt there that I didn't know what to do with, and that kind of stuff. Like, and then finding solace in women because those are the only people I was really allowed to be around, and then have connection with, because of the whole separation of boy and girl. Like, looking back, I can make sense of, like, why I would feel that way, and why it was so important to me to have connection, because I didn't have any for a long time, and I was, like, neglected.
And God made you for a connection.
And God made me for a connection, and then,
And especially as a kid, like, you can't recognize that, like, your trauma is being dismissed, necessarily.
You don't even know it's trauma.
You don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the opposite of what Jesus does. You know, like, he sees the trauma and he loves us in it. And so when, you know, like, the church or whatever is dismissive or just otherwise uncaring.
Dismissive, I would say they're like, disgusted.
I
would use a stronger word.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You should use a stronger word. Yeah.
Because
straight up grossed out that this could possibly be happening, you know? And that's what keeps it in the dark, you know? That's what allows it to continue.
Yeah.
Is not talking about it. Because I guarantee you, there are people in any church that, like, could relate and could have talked with you about it and could have helped if they had felt like there was freedom to do so, or if they weren't, you know, shutting themselves down.
Yeah. I wanted to say before I moved on from that was it made sense that when I found connection, it was something that I held on to so tightly and, like, obsessed over because it was new. Mm-hmm. And it gave me value all of a sudden as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just here for no reason.
Yeah.
And those people were girls, so it was like, it didn't really matter. It was just, like, all about them all of a sudden. So anyway, you're not disgusting or wrong for having a feeling.
Right.
And
exactly.
It's like, there's, like, you know, Christian cliche of, like, it's not the anger that's the sin, it's, like, what you do with the anger. It's not the thought that's the sin, it's what you do with the thought. It's like, well, yeah, but also, like, it's not that easy either. Like,
yeah,
that's another blanket statement. God would love to wrestle with you about stuff that you're unsure of, and he sure as heck has wrestled with me. I've wrestled with him. You know, like, I used to have insomnia really bad, and I would go outside and, like, just, like, kind of walk around, and the moon was, like, the only comfort for me for a while, because everyone else was asleep, and it just felt like that was my reality, and I took kind of, like, solace in that moment, and also it was extremely painful, because I was alone, but I remember, like, being out in the yard, what the heck, God, you know, like, why would you want me here, and those kinds of questions and everything, like, God of Abraham, what do you have for me? Why am I here? You know, like, and it's a lot of emotion and anger and hurt and depression and all that stuff. So anyway, I felt very alone in talking about anything. So I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. But, like, to a point where it was like, if I couldn't have connection unless I had connection with a woman, apparently. And because I've never had that connection with a man, and it's terrifying to me to think even of trying that, because I know, like, in my head, like, I would never even do that, because it's never, like, it's not even a possibility that something like that would ever happen, and I don't even know if I would want it to, but I think maybe I would. I don't know. This is where the confusion comes in, because, like, I do want connection. This is a big conversation, but I know I would have benefited a lot from something like this, where people were openly talking about their issues, and if anyone is out there, like, who feels alone in gender confusion or anything like that, like, I'm right there with you, and you're not alone, and there are plenty of us who are going through very similar things, and I don't know, like, I don't know exactly what to say, other than, like, I get it, and I don't know. I'm pro genuine. If that helps with anything. So if you're genuinely attracted to someone, the Bible says don't lie. Those attractions, those feelings, while feelings come and go, truth remains constant, which is God. And God's the only constant in our lives, so whatever emotions are coming in your marriage, outside of marriage, in your sexuality, we always have to go back to that rock, that foundation of what is true, what does God say is true, because what everyone else says is true isn't. You know what I mean?
And what God says is true is that he sees you.
Yeah.
And he loves you.
Yeah, that's truth. And he accepts you the way you are.
He made you the way you are.
He made you the way you are for a reason, for a purpose, for his glory.
Because he likes it.
Yeah. With the word accepts, Mom and I were talking about this as well. Like, Jesus accepts you just the way you are. That word accept has, like, a ton of connotations with it in the church as well.
Yes, it does.
Because it's like, well, he accepts you, but he doesn't accept your sin. You know? It's like, you are enmeshed with your sin. He accepts you.
Right. That indicates he's like, oh, yeah, you're great. Now go over here and change.
Also, you are not your sin.
Yeah.
You are Lisa. You know? And, like, Jesus came and died for Lisa. And he died for your sins. Yeah. Because you could never have taken that punishment. He didn't want you to take that punishment, which is separation from him.
Right.
And he wanted to have relationship with you. That's the whole point of Jesus.
Because he loves you.
He doesn't.
You can't love somebody while at the same time wanting them to be completely different or give up parts of themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, he wants what's best for us. And he is for us. He's pro Lisa. He is more pro you than you. He is for your good. He is always thinking of your eternal soul.
Well, and I was going to tie it together. He is pro-sex. God is pro-sex.
Yeah.
Because he made this good thing, and he wants good things for us.
Absolutely.
We mess it up.
I think a concluding thought for me would be that in thinking about things so polarizing, like, Jesus is a lot more messy than that. And I think we've been careful, even in saying any of this, that we don't want to say statements that are just like short little statements like, wives submit to your husbands, that kind of thing. Or like,
yeah, you're not going to hear that here.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to just give you kind of like one size fits all.
We're not about solutions.
Yeah. We're about like talking.
We're about being real.
Through.
Yeah. We're about being there for each other. And, I mean, really celebrating what God is doing, I think. You know, like, he's really redeemed a lot of these negative connotations for us, you know, surrounding these things that he loves. He created, you know, everything that we've done so far, you know, self-esteem, feminism, sex. God made those things. God gave them to us.
For his glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
They're good things.
We're not doing this just to prop ourselves up. We're saying, what is Jesus really about? He's about these things because he's about us. Like, that's why he lived his life. Was for us. This is part of us. It's part of it. So let's stop making it a bad thing. You know?
Let's stop making it an easy thing to comprehend.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Stop slapping labels on things for the benefit of our earthworm brains.
True. That's really good.
So if you want, you could record yourself. Our Lord Beer Me Strength audience is invited to record a voicemail message. Send it to us. If we like it, we'll interact with it. We might play it on the podcast and answer your question or otherwise interact with your voice that you send to us. And if we don't like it, we'll delete it and act like it never happened. So be nice to us, because then you'll have a better chance of getting on the podcast.
Yes.
Be cool, my babies. Send us an audio file or an email. Give us a nice long email so we have something to read, because I get bored.
Please talk to us.
Yeah, please talk to us, because it's weird if you don't. And we need that social interaction in our lives. We depend on you. And we give so much, you know. Like, we're over here doing this podcast out of the goodness of our hearts, okay? All we ask.
We don't need to be loved.
I don't need to be loved. I have to be loved.
It's not like my need to be praised.
I want you to be afraid of how much you love me.
And then
be compelled to send me examples of that love in an audio file or an email. That's all I ask.
You originally said voicemail message.
Right. But then I clarified. So we don't actually have a phone number for the voicemail, but it would basically be the same thing.
If we want your voice in the mail.
Yeah, send it to us.
And we want you to say a message.
Record it onto a cassette like a weirdo and mail it to us in the snail mail.
Don't do that. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Any other concluding thoughts?
No, I'm just glad that we fixed everything here today.
Yeah.
We have completely solved all of the issues surrounding sex.
Okay.
Yeah. I, for one, feel much better.
That's what she said.